What is up, guys? Welcome back. So today we're going to be talking about 20 anxiety mistakes we make a lot. These are very, very common. I could make this video over 6 times with 20 different ones each time, so I probably will actually make this video again in the future. But these are very common. These are things that I dealt with for years before I decided to stop being hard-headed and learned from my mistakes and eventually was able to recover. So, listen to these things that I mention and try to get away from these things. If you get away from these things, things get better a lot faster, okay? We're still not trying to put a timetable on it. We want this to be natural, but it will definitely speed up the process if you can get away from these things, okay? In fact, go down below and like this video so we can get this out to more people. And if you're new, guys, please subscribe. Trust me, tons of videos like this, long form content to help you get better. This is coming from a guy who has tons of experience and finally got out of this hell, okay? And question of the day, go down below in the comment section. What mistakes do you continue making? What mistakes do you continue making? At the very least, guys, you will make somebody feel less alone. So let's get into this, guys. Number one, Googling your symptoms. Obviously, it's one of the worst things that we can do as anxiety sufferers. You got to think about it. You've already gotten to the point, your negative thinking and catastrophizing and spiraling has already gotten to the point to where it's being manifested physically in your body. So you're having physical symptoms, right? What is that caused by? The stress, the anxiety, the negative thinking, the spiraling, worst case scenario, catastrophizing. Okay, so that's the way that we think. So now we are searching up the physical symptoms of our anxiety like I did when I had my first panic attack. Chest pain, fast heart rate, numbness, tingling, shortness of breath. What do you think is going to pop up at the top? There you go, heart attack. So now we see heart attack, or we see cancer, or we see Parkinson's, or whatever it is, whether it be something common or something rare. Okay, we have a problem with catastrophizing. So what are we going to do? We're going to think, oh my God, that's me. That's me. Next thing, we're looking up prognosis, we're looking up treatments, we're looking up testimonies. Now we're joining Facebook groups. Now we're getting on Reddit. Now our YouTube is also becoming our form of Google, TikTok, Instagram Reels. Now the algorithm is flooded with all this stuff. Some of you are having to delete your whole TikTok and social media and start over. Googling is not healthy whenever you have rough and bad anxiety. The sad thing is that there's articles that are going to say that anxiety can cause what you're dealing with, but we're still going with the bad stuff, right? So it's a lose-lose for us, especially in the beginning. We can't handle it, obviously, because in the beginning, our catastrophizing and negative thinking is so bad that it's causing physical symptoms. And, I could talk about this for an hour because, it's hard whenever you have new symptoms. We want to get on there. The best thing is to let a professional check you out if things are serious or if you're really concerned. And I know that's a gray statement. That's a broad statement because I know eventually with health anxiety, we're trying to get away from seeing the doctor. But it's not my place to tell you when not to go get checked or to tell you when to not go to a doctor, okay? You have to make that decision for yourself and you have to come up with the rules for yourself. For me, eventually what got me out of this and rules that I kept after I recovered was I'm going to do all the right things. I'm not going to jump on Google if I feel something new or a different sensation or if I just feel a little off or sick and I'm not in excruciating pain, I'm not bleeding, I'm not doing all these different rules that I have for myself. I'm not going to talk about it all in this video. If I'm doing all the right stuff and it's been a couple weeks, I'll go get checked out. So that's what I do. You got to come up with your own rule system, but get away from playing Dr. Google. I'd spend hours doing this. I'd wake up in the morning doing it, do it before I'd go to bed. If I felt something weird or new, I'd jump on there. You eventually become like a walking medical dictionary or a medical encyclopedia, whatever. You go to your doctor and you actually impress your doctor. They're like, wow, you know your stuff. Well, when you spend hours doing research, you learn a little bit about the body, the anatomy. Pretty much any disease that could be associated with any area of your body by now because some of you have Googled for so long. So stop doing that. I know it's hard when you enter a different cycle and your symptoms change, but guys, it's not going to do you any favors to do that. Number 2, checking vitals. Excuse me, I'm still getting over this dry throat, man. Checking vitals, blood pressure, heart rate, oxygen levels, blood sugar. Unless a doctor's instructed you to do this, you need to get away from it. I get some of you, you're getting comfort from it. Me, I was getting triggered. If you're getting triggered, it's not helping you anyways, And And some of you have gotten to the point that even though, like, even whenever you check it and it's fast, or you look and it's fast, or your blood pressure's high, you're still not going to the doctor. So what's the point in checking it if you're not even going to go to the doctor or hospital because you see a high reading? So then it's just like, well, I'm just freaking myself out. For some of you, you're getting comfort. Very rarely did I get comfort from checking. And even if I did check and it was normal, it would go up quickly from there. I had really bad white coat syndrome. So yeah, so if you're getting comfort, you're still a victim and a prisoner and a slave to checking. Let's just be for real. You're living like a heart patient, whether you're doing it for comfort or you're being triggered by it. Again, if your doctor hasn't instructed you to do this, there's no reason to do it. Okay, we want the subconscious to stop sending us higher vitals, right? We want the heart rate to slow down. We want the blood pressure to chill out. We want these symptoms to go away. We want the heart anxiety to go away, all the other symptoms that are associated with this. But whenever we check, we are sending negative energy to that area, and we are indicating and sending a mixed signal to our subconscious. We're waking up trying to accept what the doctor told us, right? You're healthy, your test results are good. Go home, Trey, you're fine. But if I'm checking all day, I'm sending a mixed signal. Maybe there's something wrong. So the faster you get away from checking your vitals, the faster you're gonna get out of this. You'll feel a lot better in a couple weeks. It's kind of like a drug, right? This reassurance thing, which we're going to get to in the next one. The more you get, the more your tolerance goes up and the more you need. So you might have started out checking a few times a day. Now some of you are checking 30 times a day. Get rid of the blood pressure machine. Give your smartphone or smartwatch to somebody because you're just going to check it. Again, it's like having drugs in a drawer or something. Even though you put it a little bit out of your reach, you can still go get it, right? You know where it's at. When you're desperate enough, you're going to go get it. Give your watch to your partner, your spouse, or a family member, a friend, or something, and say, I'll get this back in 6 months when I'm in a better place. So get away from checking vitals. You're living like a heart patient when you do that. Number 3, constant reassurance seeking. Constant reassurance seeking. Again, this could be with things like checking the vitals, constantly relying on a blood pressure machine or your fancy watch or these 2 fingers to check. But also it comes down to people. You know, my mother, bless her heart, she was a nurse and I always called her for reassurance all the time. I would also bug friends occasionally. I would ask questions. You know, I'd try to sneak it in there like, oh, did you ever deal with this or that? Or, you know, I've been dealing with this for a while, you know. My girlfriend at the time, I think I probably drove her nuts for a while. Yeah, my parents, I went to my dad a couple times. He didn't really understand, and he was kind of short with me, so I stopped. And I was one of those people, like, if somebody was nice to me and they gave me reassurance, I kept going back. You know what I mean? I would almost take advantage of that. Get away from constant reassurance, okay? Your relationships will get better. There's nothing wrong with asking for love and support and for somebody to listen to you, but the constant reassurance is going to push people away. And it's a sad thing because we're just trying to get help and we're scared, but something that you have to start relying on yourself. So we got to go from external reassurance to internal reassurance. You have to be the voice of rationality and safety for your subconscious. You know, not that blood pressure machine, not mom, not your girlfriend, not your wife, your husband or friends, not Google, you know, even other things, okay? You have to be that voice of safety, okay? So establish that. Number 4, waiting to take action. For some of you guys, this is like the biggest thing that's gonna keep you from recovery, whether it be what that book taught you, that course, that coach, that therapist, that video that you've seen that had some good tips in it, and you're just waiting and you're putting it off. You want the perfect timing to occur, or the perfect situation to be in place for you to do this. Some of you are going to wait forever to want to do your exposure. Guys, there's never going to be a perfect time to do anything. There's going to be some struggles in the beginning, right? Whenever you try to get started, your subconscious is not going to just be like, oh, this is amazing on day one, whether it be a new diet, whether it be exercising, whether it be any type of exposure or applying something new. It's not going to be all for it the first day. So stop putting that off. And for some of you, this is going to turn into years of waiting. Is it really worth it for everything to come together perfectly, for you to want to do this, you know, waiting 4 years to do something? No. Time, it's not going to be the thing that fixes all this. Now, sure, with time, does your acceptance probably get a little bit better? Sure. Do you learn how to kind of manage some of these things maybe a little bit better? Yeah. And maybe do you get to a point to where you realize I'm probably not going to die, you know, and I've been checked out a million times. So some things get a little easier with time, but overall recovery is not going to get fixed with time. You know, time is not going to make you magically be able to get into a vehicle when you haven't driven in 3 years and that drive goes smoothly. Okay, so there's never going to be a perfect time. A perfect example of this for me in my life was waiting to do vigorous exercise because I was afraid that there was something wrong with my heart. When I finally did it, it was the thing that actually got me to accept that there was nothing wrong with my heart, and it got me out of heart anxiety, even more so than the doctors telling me. And as happy as I was mad that I waited that long. Things could have changed a lot faster, so stop waiting, take action today. Number 5, stop body scanning, all right? Constant body scanning is gonna keep you in a funk. You're gonna make yourself sick. Again, we have a problem with worst case scenario, catastrophizing. So constantly looking over your body. I'm telling you guys, you will find something new every day if you look hard enough. And sometimes, I know this sounds weird, you don't have to agree with me, but sometimes our eyes can play tricks on us. It's like our eyes see everything in a weird, negative way. You'll convince yourself that your left eye looks bigger, your right foot looks bigger, something's swollen that's not swollen, something's red that's not even red to somebody else if you ask them. You'll convince yourself that this mole or this freckle is cancer, you know. You'll see a little bruise and you'll be like, oh my God, I don't remember how that happened. I must have some cancer because I'm bruising easily, you know, or maybe there's something wrong with my blood or whatever. You'll find something, and a lot of times we'll do this when we look in the mirror, in the shower. I challenge you guys, you know, I'm not telling you to be irresponsible to never check, right? But you know what I'm talking about. The obsessive checking needs to stop. Again, we don't want to show our subconscious that things are wrong by our actions and behaviors, and this is an action that shows that there's something wrong with us. All right, so we want to get away from that. Number 6, constantly distracting yourself, okay? So this is another controversial one because, you know, there's things called grounding techniques, and, you know, you might want to get busy or distract yourself. In the beginning, when things are horrible, I'm all for doing whatever you got to do to get into a better place, because when the cycle is that bad, okay, it is good to get a little bit of breathing room, okay? It's good to get out of panic. It's good to do those things. But as time goes on, months goes by, and for some of you, years, I want you to be able to get to the point where you can just sit with symptoms, right? Or you just do what you're supposed to be doing. I don't have to run and dump a cold bottle of water on my head like I did in the beginning. You know, I don't have to go get busy with something to distract myself every time. I want to face these fears. Now, if management is fine with you, then sure, continue to distract yourself. I don't have anything against it for that at all. You're gonna have a better life, and you can get yourself out of anxiety pretty quickly if you use distraction techniques. But if you want to recover, then a mistake you could be making is just constantly trying to distract yourself when you feel these things come up. It's okay to sit with them and to let them be there. Yeah, we got a situation going on in town. You can hear that, the sirens in the distance. I'm gonna actually stop this until they go by in case that's triggering for anybody. Number 7, comparing your recovery to other people. You know, in comments, Facebook groups or whatever, you know, you're gonna see people say that they recovered in weeks or a month or 2. And then on the flip side, you're gonna have people that say that they've never gotten out of this and you're not gonna get out of it either, right? I've had this 20, 30 years, believe me. You know, they'll use strong wording. Believe me, you'll never get out of this. Sometimes I feel like these people they don't want anybody to get out of it because they can't get out of it, right? For whatever reason, either maybe it isn't possible for them and they have just so much damage and trauma, or they just didn't stick with things long enough themselves, or they've just chosen the management route, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Their life is probably a lot better than what it used to be. But you have to have belief, and you have to have faith to actually get out of this. You know, if you don't believe and you doubt, then your subconscious, it's already troubled, is not gonna get out of this. You have to lead it out, you know, via your conscious mind and leadership and intentions and actions, okay? So faith and belief is a big part of this. Stop comparing your recovery and your timeline to other people. You know, you need to think in terms of months instead of days or weeks for sure. But this takes time. I mean, for me, putting everything together. I mean, my recovery process was slow, but guess what? It was natural because it was slower. I didn't force anything in the end. And that last year was my best guesstimate of where I started putting things together, and I got better gradually. So stop comparing yourself to comments and Facebook posts and stuff like that. You're your own unique person and journey and situation, okay? And there's going to be different levels to anxiety for different people, okay? So stop comparing yourself to other people and focus on you. Number 8, avoidance. Avoiding trips, guys, this could be anything. This is likely stuff that you need to be doing exposure towards. Avoidance is not going to make it get any better, okay? Putting it off, I guess this could be almost like the waiting game too. You're avoiding things until you're in a better place to handle it. Guys, I'm telling you, again, you can avoid getting in the car for 2 or 3 years, and you could work on your mind all you want to. This is just my opinion, okay? Somebody else might tell you something else, that they could just hypnotize you into being able to just magically get into a car after 3 years of being terrified of it and never driving. But in my opinion, you can do a lot of work on the mind. You can get all your affirmations together. You can start exercising. But if you used to have horrible panic attacks in the car and that was a horrible place for you to be, and you avoid that for 3 years, I just don't think you're magically going to be better whenever you get back in the car. You know what I mean? Maybe things might not be as bad because you've done a lot of work on your mind, and maybe you've gained a lot of tools and grounding techniques that you can use, and you got everything perfectly set up, but you're still going to feel a certain way when you get in that car, okay? So stop avoiding, and this is for anything. When you avoid a situation, you confirm to your subconscious that's a dangerous situation. Next time I go, make it worse. Make it worse. That could be work, the vehicle, a wedding, a trip, the plane, the boat, the car, any of that stuff. Exercise, anything, guys. Number 9, guys, you're trying to control everything, whether it be controlling your symptoms, trying to minimize them, resist them, stop them, push them away. Please make it stop. Not right now. You're trying to control traffic. You're trying to speed home to get back faster if you're panicking so you don't die, right? You're trying to control every aspect of your health. Maybe you constantly go to the doctor. Maybe you constantly get testing. You're constantly asking for reassurance. You're constantly checking your vitals and Googling, right? All the time. That's another aspect of control that you need to let go. Some of you are bringing a whole pharmacy with you to work or whenever you travel in your backpack. Every type of medication for any type of situation. Some of you are having to download the menu if you're going to a different restaurant. That way you know what you're going to get before you even get there. Some of you need to know the nearest hospital when you're going on vacation. That's the closest to your hotel. Some of you need timestamps on everything. Everything has to be precise and exact. Who's all going with us? There doesn't need to be anybody new that goes with us. You're trying to control everything. And guys, likelihood is you had issues with control before you developed this anxiety disorder, before it got worse, or before you started having physical symptoms. And if I had to give the broadest answer to anxiety recovery, it's the letting go of control. But don't just think of it as in symptoms and stuff. Sure, I want you to be able to just sit there with your symptoms. You don't have to try to force them away. They're only going to get worse if you try to do that anyways. The more you try to control everything, the more miserable you're going to be, right? So that should be some motivation to let go of control. But I don't want you to have to constantly distract yourself or ground yourself. Let the symptoms flow through you like energy. Don't show any resistance, okay? Let things go. But also with other aspects of your life, whether it be traffic, job, finances, constantly trying to micromanage every step of the way, and also just constantly planning for the future all the time. And some of you, this is funny, but it's true because I tried to do it. I even tried to control the past that had already happened. Try to fix things all the time that I couldn't fix. It's already happened, guys. So letting go of control is a big one. Number 10 is quitting too soon. Some of you are so close to a breakthrough, and you're giving up, Don't do that, because then it takes time to get back to where we were. Some of you built a lot of momentum, but because it didn't give you the exact result or didn't happen as fast as you wanted it to, you gave up, and then you went back into your comfort zone, and you've been there for months or even longer. Some of you for years. Now we're gonna have to kind of start over a little bit and get back into it. And then we're gonna have to build that up again, okay? Stick with it. Start thinking in terms of months, guys, instead of days or weeks. It takes time for the subconscious to get on board with what we're doing consciously. So whether that be diet, working out, a good example of this, like, you know, quitting too soon, like even whenever it comes down to something like losing weight or something, you know, maybe weight loss and eating healthy and working out is a part of your journey, right? Especially if you're overweight and that's something that you want to do. Maybe it's for your health anxiety. You know, you're getting on the scale after a few days of working out and maybe you're only half a pound down, but you felt like you sacrificed so much with your diet and your exercise. Or maybe you're a half a pound heavier, even though you've done everything by the book, and then you give up. You quit too soon, not knowing that maybe the next day you drop down at a pound and a half, because sometimes the body's funny like that. It'll do things like that, you know? But that's just one example of many things. Some of you are so close to having a breakthrough with mindfulness or journaling clicking with you, or you're gonna have a breakthrough with your exposure. And then you throw in the towel, maybe because of a rough day or rough session, or it's just not, you feel like it's just not worth it to you. The time is not worth it, which is so silly, because some of us have been dealing with anxiety for years. What's 3 months, you know what I mean, of sticking with something for 3 months? We're that impatient, right? So stop quitting too soon, guys. Hang in there. Number 11, trying to avoid setbacks. This is another thing. We've been doing good for a while. Say you've come a long ways, okay? You've handled some of the fears that you needed to handle, but you still got this other thing over here. Like, let's use driving, for example. And it's like, you know, I've been doing good. I just don't want to, you know I need to do something about that. Like, I know I need to eventually face that fear of driving, but like, what if I have a setback or something like that? I don't want you to really view it as like a setback. You know, if you've been dealing with this for a long time and you've come so far, guess what you have now? You have more knowledge and awareness. Your acceptance is better than what it used to be. And you have tools, and you have a way of speaking to yourself, and you have an inner dialogue and voice that's going to bring you up if you do deal with some struggle whenever you have to go do some more higher level exposure, like driving or something like that, right? So you have to believe that you're equipped and you have the tools and you're in a different place to handle symptoms if they hit you in the face, because they are going to hit you in the face if you get back in the car. We have to just kind of expect that we're going to have symptoms versus seeing it as like, well, this is going to be a setback and I'm going to have to start all the way over. Sure, we might resensitize the nervous system a little bit, but I think how we handle it that first day, which now you should be more equipped to do it, now that you've been learning and dealing with this for a while, your awareness, your acceptance, your inner voice is going to be better. It's not going to be as bad. Okay, so we have to be able to take risks, I guess. That's part of us trying to survive, right, and protect ourselves, overprotect ourselves. Number 12, using unhealthy coping mechanisms. So this could be anything: overeating, binge eating, smoking, obviously drinking alcohol, any type of drug use or anything like that, anything that's unhealthy for us. And we're doing that to take our mind off of anxiety, distract us, to cope, to numb ourselves, okay? Very tempting. I mean, I would know it best. Alcohol was one of the things that made my symptoms go away the fastest, and got into a vicious cycle of that. Became more of a problem. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it because there's many different coping mechanisms. I don't want to just focus on that, but that was something that I used to make anxiety go away very quickly, but it was there tenfold the next morning. And I'm sure that that's the case with other things like smoking and with using other drugs and things like that. The anxiety is waiting for us whenever we stop using. And if it's an unhealthy coping mechanism, it means it's not good for us. We're also destroying our health in the process. So our anxiety is not really getting better. It's an illusion. We're fooling ourselves, and we're doing it for some temporary relief. And I get it, guys. I felt desperate many times, and that's why I would do it. But guys, my anxiety would be 10 times worse the next morning, waking up after a long night of drinking to keep my symptoms at bay and panic at bay. So try to get away from that. Talk to your doctor if you need to find out a plan or a program, or if you need to go to do any type of a detox thing, do that. Be safe about it. I'm not sitting here trying to play your doctor and say cold turkey on anything. Go speak to a professional on that, okay? Sorry, guys, I got my list down here. The wind was blowing it off. Number 13, another mistake is keeping a toxic environment. I can piggyback off of that, maybe, having substances around, but also just like the people that we hang out with, we are the 5 people that are the closest to us, try to get yourself in a different environment, that's more conducive for recovery and positive vibes and positive thinking. I know we can't always change our living situation, but some of you are in toxic relationships that are not good for you, whether it be friendships or actual more intimate relationships. And it's just going to continue to fuel your anxiety. So either make dramatic changes or open up and then voice this to that person or that friend or that partner. That change has to happen for me to get better, or I'm going to have to move on. Sometimes that is going to mean you have to move on. For me, a good example of this was keeping around buddies, or it was drinking buddies or whatever, keeping those people around. And it just kept me in a negative place, kept me going out, partying, being in shady places and wrong places at the wrong time all the time. And it just kept me in a dark place. Just that party lifestyle, party atmosphere that was not conducive for recovery. And it led to a lot of mornings of panic. It also held me back from doing other things. How was I going to maintain a routine and do exposure and do all this stuff whenever it was all about just partying outside of work, just partying to numb my symptoms and to be around this crowd that encouraged it. So something else can be the media. That I didn't write down media and stuff, but I can include it in this. Like your environment can be the music that you listen to, the movies that you watch, the shows that you watch, the posters on your wall. Maybe some of you need a career change. Maybe the work environment's toxic. Just evaluate your environment and try to make it more conducive for positivity and recovery. Number 14, it happened to them, it can happen to me type mindset, as far as like catastrophizing, basically. That person was 25 and they had cancer and died, so that definitely can happen to me. Or that person, was driving and a rock came off a truck and went through the windshield and, ended their life. That could happen to me. Basically, you're thinking you're a small statistic, or, it's kind of like the worst case scenario mindset. Sure, something technically can happen to you if it happened to somebody else, but the likelihood of it happening is so small. And that's the problem. That's where you have to work on that. You know what I mean? But it also could very well not happen to you. You see what I'm saying? If it happened to them, it could happen to me. Well, you also have to be able to reverse that and say, it also could not happen to me. In fact, there's a very much higher chance that it won't happen to me. So I understand that. Any article I would read about somebody having cancer or somebody dying young, especially when it comes down to age, what are we doing? We're looking at the age, like how young were they, especially for us that are like in our 20s or 30s, or, we see somebody that's our age dying for something like that. And those articles are everywhere. We're like, oh my God, that it's almost like we feel like it's a bad omen or something, or a sign. But that's a mindset we got to get out of. Number 15, this is what I was saying earlier. You're in a habit of thinking in days or weeks versus months. I think days and weeks is even a quick fix mentality. I know a lot of people think quick fix mentality. Oh, I got to do this, and the first day I'm better. If you think that something's supposed to make you completely different and just in a matter of days, that's quick fix in my opinion. Or even a couple weeks, that's still quick fix. We could sit here and argue that our subconscious is at least 30 days behind this conversation that we're having right here. You know what I mean? It could be longer than that. There's some studies that show it takes 100 days to establish a habit. You're going to see anything from 30 to 100 days. Okay, well, that's months. Okay? We are establishing habits. We are rewiring. We are facing our fears and getting our subconscious to desensitize to that. We're trying to get out of a hypersensitive state. That takes time. Okay? We have to develop skills. We are handed tools. We have to become a master of tools. If somebody, I use this all the time because I think it's a good way of explaining it. If somebody just came up and just dropped a whole bunch of woodworking tools out here in my yard, fancy equipment, I wouldn't even know the names of any of this crap, but say somebody dropped off a bunch of stuff here and they're like, here you go. I want you to make me a table and chairs. I'll even provide you the wood. Here's the wood. Make me a really nice table and chairs, set of chairs. Do you think I'm going to be able to do that in a few days? Probably not. I don't even know how to use these tools. I'm probably not going to make you a masterpiece. I mean, I could probably throw something together after a couple videos within a week or two. Is it going to be satisfactory? Is it going to be what you see in the furniture stores? Hell no. I mean, you got to sand, you got to polish, there's so many things that go into that. I have to learn how to use all the tools too. That's going to take time before I can get good at woodworking, right? It's going to take time for you to get good at meditation, to get better with your form and endurance when it comes to exercise, to change your palate, to enjoy healthier foods, to overcome your fear of driving, okay? Put in the time. Again, some of you have been dealing with this for years, but you're not willing to do something for a month or two to make changes, right? So start thinking in terms of months, not days or weeks. Number 16, always thinking you're the small statistic. This was a big one. And again, this is another one that's kind of sad when you really think about it. You know, I remember looking up the odds of me having a heart attack when I was 21. I put in my risk factors, my weight, and everything like that. And it was like 0.0 something percent. I can't remember exactly. It was like 0.01 or something. That's how low of a chance I had of having a heart attack. Think about that. But I was so convinced I'm going to be the case study. You know, I'm going to be the one that makes the headline and CNN on CNN News or Fox News or something. I'm going to be on the front page of everybody's newspaper. Young man, 21, dies of a massive heart attack. Nobody saw it coming. You know, and I thought that about everything. You know, what's the small statistic? That could be me, right? I want you to think of it like this. Some of these things we just have to challenge in reverse, right? Instead of me thinking like, oh my God, I'm going to be that 0.01% chance. I should have been thinking, well, there's a 99.9% chance or 99% chance that this is not going to happen to me. Why not I just go with that? Why do I have to go with the 0.01%? Right? When I got a 99.99% chance of things being good, great, right? Because all we need is like one little fear or a little sign or a symptom to confirm that small statistic. And you can apply this to anything, not just medical, whatever small statistic. There's always going to be a small statistic of succumbing to something with anything and everything. Any cancer, any disease, obviously. There's a higher chance of you getting in the car and something happening than some of these diseases that you fear, obviously. There's going to be a small statistic. I'm not trying to put fears in your head, so I'm not going to go down that road. But guys, there's a small statistic in everything, right? Anything and everything. Any food you put in your mouth, any product you ever buy, there's always that little chance. But we can't live like that, right? I mean, we can, but we're going to be miserable. That's part of letting go of control. You know, I'm going to go with the 99.99% chance I'm going to be all right, okay? All right, so number 17, catastrophizing, thinking worst case scenario. It's kind of similar to that, but it's a little bit more of a broader thing, a way of viewing it. Worst case scenario, obviously with diseases and stuff like that, the small statistic thing, but say I'm driving behind a logging truck. I'm like, oh my God, what if that log just comes off Final Destination style and comes through and my windshield? Oh my God, I got to speed up and get around this logging truck. Or if I'm on a boat, it's going to go down. If I'm on a plane, it's going to go down. Worst case scenario in any situation. Okay, so that's another thing that we have to work on, and if we don't, and we try to fix our symptoms, or maybe we face a few fears, it's just going to come back and manifest in a different way. So you can see how letting go of control almost applies in each of these things that I'm talking about. There's always going to be a worst case scenario with anything and everything. Think about it. You're never going to be in a situation where there couldn't be a worst case scenario. There's always a worst case scenario. So do we want to continue to live like that and to be miserable thinking that way? Or do we want to let go of control and realize, again, kind of going back to the small statistic, that there's a 99% chance it's not going to happen. You know what I'm saying? Number 18, refusing to change diet and exercise habits. I think this is something that can really supplement your anxiety recovery process. When it comes down to diet, most of our serotonin, which helps combat anxiety, is produced in the gut. That's a good motivator to start working on your diet. We are sensitive to the things that we eat now, so even like heavy carbs, obviously processed food, fast food, fried foods, high sodium. I can go on and on about that stuff, but we need to start getting those things out of our life, and this is a good opportunity to change our life with our diet. Okay, the anxiety, the brain-gut connection is extremely powerful. That's why a lot of us, even before we ever had anxiety, whenever we had a little bit of nervousness, where did we start to feel it? In our stomach, butterflies, right? That's where it starts. Okay, so diet changes, if you're curious about that, I have a few other videos that you can search up. Foods that are good, foods that are not good. Just type in Trey Jones and you can find some videos on that. But I prefer, and I still prefer this to this day, is more of like a keto style lifestyle, or keto lifestyle type diet. I'm not strict by it. I eat a little bit more carbs than a strict keto diet, but my carbs are at least healthy, complex carbs, a lot of meat and vegetables. Again, if I'm gonna eat carbs, I'm gonna make sure that they're healthier versions. And I try my hardest to stay away from fast food. Do I cheat every once in a while? Yeah. And I also have 4 kids, so it makes it a little bit harder to be perfect all the time. But that's something that I started to do a long time ago, and I've been doing it ever since, and I feel a lot better, and it helps out a lot. Exercise habits, I was one of those. I was stubborn. Some of you are afraid of exercise like I was. You got to start somewhere. I don't care if it's, walking up and down your driveway. Get out of the house, get some fresh air, get some sunlight, take a walk, and then build off that. Okay, it can help, you hear about that runner's high, right? Feel good chemicals and hormones going on. It does feel good after you work out. It does help you with your mental health. Excuse me, I'm sorry I have to keep clearing my throat. It's been like this for a week. So yeah, you're refusing to change diet and exercise habits. You're putting that off for various reasons. Those things are going to help supplement, your recovery process. If you have health anxiety, if you're eating right and you're exercising, you're going to start feeling more confident that your health is good. Okay. Number 19, wanting your old life back. Again, this is just not going to be productive. I wish I could do this again. I wish I could do that again. I wish, man, if I could just go back and do. No, you don't want that life. You want a new life. That life actually led you here. Sure, there were some good aspects from it you want to pick out, but there was something going on in that life that wasn't right that led you to here, okay? So just think about it like that. You want a new life that's more stress preventative with some of those good things implemented, all right? Number 20, bouncing from one tool to another too fast. This is another one. Or you're not combining tools. You're either going from one thing to another, or you're not trying to put together 3 or 4 things. I think that you having a handful of things that you do as far as like a stress preventative lifestyle, like say you wake up, you hydrate, you go for a walk, or maybe do some exercise, maybe you take that cold shower, then you can do some journaling and mindfulness whenever you've kind of calmed the nervous system down a little bit, or you've desensitized, your body, got that nervous energy out of you. Now things like meditation are going to be more welcoming, journaling, visualization, positive affirmations, gratitudes, for some of you prayer, scripture, things like that. And then of course, doing some exposure later on. I think having more of the lifestyle and having more than one tool that you can use every single day is going to be even more effective. I don't want your entire day to be about keeping anxiety away. But you need a handful of things, I think, and these are also going to be a handful of things that you keep after you get past your anxiety disorder and get past the symptoms. That's another mistake people make. They just take things for granted whenever they start to get better, and then they don't try to prevent stress, and bam, 6 months later, we're back here again, okay? But also going from one tool to another, this goes back to thinking in terms of months instead of days or weeks. You find out about this thing called meditation. You try it for 2 or 3 days. You're still having anxiety. It must not be for me. I'm going to ditch it. I'm going to try this new little journal that I heard about. I bought this journal. I'm going to do this. Day 2, I had a panic attack. The journal must not be working. You know, you go from one thing to another, one tip to another tip. Maybe you're watching me because I've already been through 20 other YouTubers. You know, maybe you've had 15 different therapists. Stick with something and give it time, okay? Give it time. The subconscious needs time to catch up, okay? You know, and in fact, if you've watched it this far, I want you to go down below in the comment section and in all caps, I want you to put, I'll hold myself accountable. I'll hold myself accountable. If you want more help, I know we covered a lot of things. We talked about a lot of things not to do. If you want more help with things that you should be doing, check out my course, Elite Anxiety Bootcamp. I'm going to put the link to that down below in the description and in the first pinned comment. I'm going to read you a testimony real quick. So be sure to check that out, guys. Also, guys, check out my coaching information down below. I'll send you an email if you're interested in that. Just reach out to me, and then I can send you that, and you know, we'll see if we're a good fit, and we can jump on the phone, and I can be more of a part of your recovery process that way. Please, again, like if you got value. It helps me out so much. Get these videos out to other people, and subscribe if you're new. If you have subscribed, turn on notifications so you can get my videos whenever they come out. But I love you guys. I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye.